What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 257, and it is the final special Stupid Sexy sponsored episode. Last November, I ran a 24-hour Extra Life charity stream, and 4 generous motherfuckers donated $1,000 each to the Stollery Children's Hospital here in Edmonton for a chance to pick a game to talk about and come on the show to talk about it with me. Dark Cloud, Space Harrier, and F-Zero were 3 of those episodes. You can find those in the archives. And this week, Metroid Prime wraps up the quartet, as it were. And I know a lot of you have been looking forward to a Metroid Prime episode, as have I, so this should be awesome. I played a little bit of Metroid Prime back when it came out, but I'm ashamed to admit that it was my first ever Metroid game. I didn't really play the NES or the SNES ones growing up, and I bought it because it was reviewing so well, and I thought it was cool. I got like 3 or 4 hours in, and then I don't know, I just never went back to it for some reason. And since then, over the last 20 years, I've become a huge fan of Metroidvanias and a pretty reasonably sized fan of Samus and the Metroid franchise as well. I've played Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, Metroid 1, Metroid 2, the phenomenal Metroid Dread on the Nintendo Switch, and so many people sing Metroid Prime's praises that I was stoked to see what all the hubbub is about. So I finally finished my playthrough on the GameCube. I played the original version, not the remaster, and yeah, I get it. It is pretty fucking good. I have some minor gripes, but it's definitely a top 2 Metroid game for me now alongside Metroid Dread. Is it my new number 1? You'll have to listen to find out. My guest this week is the reason this episode is happening. Blaine The Hoagie Man made his generous donation to the hospital, the Stollery Children's Hospital, not just the hospital, the Stollery Children's Hospital last year for my 24-hour stream. Said he wanted to talk Metroid Prime, and god damn it, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to get there in just a minute, because speaking of 24 hours long, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. Dun, 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 dun. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard and consider this your warning. Our intros they're kind of long, but they're fun. We talk video games and stuff. It's good times. And they're not 24 hours. Even on half speed, I think they'd come up like 20 minutes short of the 24-hour mark. So seriously, though, if you do want to skip them and go about 30 minutes up the road, you'll be into the Metroid Prime talk. But give it a chance. We play Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. I answer games, old questions. It's good times. I do have to do my plugs. All right, just give me fucking a couple of minutes. I got to rip through these. It's how we keep the bills on. We have all kinds of merchandise, hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, posters, all kinds of shit, rocking incredible art drawn by my man Joe from 4545creative.com. You can find our merch at rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested. It is a great way to support the show. And a quick heads up, we're going to be launching a summer sale probably next week sometime with a couple of new designs, and you can save yourself a couple of dollary dues. So rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested, but maybe just wait a few days. And of course, if you don't like clothes, you can always just support us on Patreon. It's about the greatest deal in the history of the universe. Quick note, as of August 1st, our monthly $2 tier will be increasing to $3 a month, with the extra buck going toward advertising Remember the Game, covering the cost of me hopefully traveling to some expos to promote the show, stuff like that. We will still be offering it for $2 a month if you sign up for the annual subscription. And trust me, if you can stand the sound of my voice, it's worth it, because we offer up to 4 additional podcasts each week. Every second Monday, we do Purple Monkey Dishwasher, our new Simpsons podcast, hosted by myself and Mark McHugh. Every Tuesday, I drop The Rambling Idiot, where I talk about my comedy career, TV, movies, sports, aliens, whatever the fuck is on my mind. Every Friday is Game Patch, my modern gaming news show, where I talk about the biggest news in gaming, give sales picks, new releases, etc. And Expansion Pass goes live every Thursday. It's a different show each week. It's mostly always gaming. It's like 90% gaming episodes. But we do rankings. We look back at genres, characters, eras, consoles. There's some comedy episodes. There's so many modern game reviews in there. It's insane. This past week, it was Expansion Pass 169. Nice. And I answered a ton of where should I start questions that I get asked all the time. Newcomers to Final Fantasy, Zelda, Metroidvanias, the Super Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, Twitch streaming, Ninja Turtles. I covered all of them. And as is becoming tradition, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass. Adam, where should I start? That's a loaded question. Where do you start with 2D platformers that aren't Mario? Like, there's so many. Stricker, I would recommend getting either the Switch Online on the or the Sega collection, which is available on everything, and trying out a few because there's a ton of great games in there. Like, a few that come to mind for me are Sonic the Hedgehog, Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania, Donkey Kong, Adventure Island, Bubsy. Not Bubsy. It's like there's so fucking many. You know what? Okay, just to give you a definitive answer, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy on the Super Nintendo. That would be, yeah, that's it. I would go with those. You can get them on Super Nintendo Online, $20 a year on the Switch. We'll lock that in. That's my pick. Donkey Kong Country games. It's particularly 1 and 2, but 3 is good too. I would start with those. Yeah. Let's go with that. Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Mario Galaxy. Said, oh, hey, considering how Adam hates them, where do you start with the Soulsborne games? I know what the right answer is. I just want to see how close you get. Where do you start with this? Y'all know I don't really play Souls games. If you're asking where should I start, I would say start by getting a new hobby. And that's now available on our archives. And this week, it's Expansion Pass 170. And it's going to be one of my out-of-this-world space-age modern game reviews. And I'm going to take AEW Fight Forever to the mat. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I love wrestling video games. I was super stoked for AEW's first game. To mixed response. It does some stuff I really like. It does some stuff I really hate. But I'll break it all down this week on Expansion Pass. So you can check that out if you're interested. Again, subscriptions start at $2. You get new podcasts every week. Instant access to hundreds of ad-free archive bonus podcasts. Plus, access to our 1,000-plus member Remember the Game Discord. The chance to vote in our Patreon poll every month. The ability to submit comments to be read on all of our shows. You can DM with me. And you even get a shout-out. It gets to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to our newest Patreons. I, Adam Blank, love Majora's Mask. I do. It's my favorite place to poop. James Dorgan, April Rios, Luke, Nikolai Bakewell, Adam Tung, Ian Campbell, Philip Ramsey, Jackson Campbell. I wonder if there's a relation. I don't know. I'm a Robot, Silver Gun Superman. It's a me, It's a Mia, Mitochondria, I think. Matthew, that one's fake. Rich Mays, Luke Pierce, the Dank Samurai. I assume that you do circumcisions. Mr. Dr. Sassy Bitch, you might do circumcisions as well. Billy O. Blueslink, Jeffrey Fisher, and Dr. Nigel Middletits, Esquire. Thank you all so much for the support and welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/rememberthegame. And to wrap up my sales pitch, don't forget 5% of our Patreon income gets donated to charity every year as part of my 24-hour stream in the fall. And we offer annual subscriptions that'll save you your 12th month's fees. And finally, you can find me over on Twitch whenever I feel like getting on there, twitch.tv/rememberthegame. Come by and say hi. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Evan Azzo, who said, all right, Sir Blancarino, the streets of Remember the Game are talking, and the word is that a Fallout 3 episode is potentially brewing. So my question is this. Pick 3 cool locations you'd love Fallout 5 to take place in. From me, I'd love to see Michigan, Louisiana, or Florida. For the record, yes, I promise y'all a Fallout 3 episode is coming. Here's the hiccup. I played that game once, like a decade ago, and I don't remember very much about it other than I liked it. So I have started replaying it, but any of you, and I assume most of you have played Fallout 3, know that that's not a quick adventure. So I have it going on my Steam Deck. It's just something I hop into when I have time to kill or when I'm done pooping on Majora's Mask. It's going to take me a long time, but I promise you, I will bet you by this time next year a Fallout 3 episode has happened. That's the only commitment I'm willing to make. As far as settings for Fallout 5, I think Florida sounds like a cool setting, actually. especially like if all the water was like pulled out or dry and there was fucking mutated crocodiles and shit. I would love to see one somewhere in Canada, like a nuclear winter, like maybe up in the mountains or over in BC somewhere or something would be pretty rad, like in the forests, or New York City, like right fucking downtown, like Times Square, like New York City. I think that'd be fucking sick too. So I'll go with those three. Faded Sufferance said, "Hey Adam, recently you made a comment about listeners feeling they are friends with you. Recently, you made a comment about listeners feeling that they are friends with you. I feel you're more of a male escort. In my case, I'm paying you $20 a month to keep my company for an hour a day. And that, my friend, is the real best deal in gaming." Yeah, I mean, people do act like I consider a bunch of you my friends. Not all of you. A couple of you freak me out, but I consider a lot of you my friends. I like talking to you guys online and stuff like that. But I do. It's been my lifelong dream to be a male escort. So Faded Sufferance, you just made my fucking day, my friend. I might print that out and hang it on my fridge. Zach Shepard said, "Hey man, this Saturday I turned 30 and I have no idea what to do to celebrate. What did you do for your 30th birthday? And do you have any advice you wish you'd receive when you turn 30? Well, first of all, happy early birthday, Zach. Fucking party hard. It's funny you ask that because I ask my friends. Like, I don't even tell most people when my birthday is. I very rarely celebrate my birthday. I'm not one of those like, I'm getting old and it sucks. I just don't care. I don't like the attention. But on my 30th birthday, Shaylee and I went to New York City, actually, for like a week. It was my first time ever leaving Canada. And we went to New York City for a week, and it kind of got me interested in traveling. And we went to a Giants-Packers game, and I lost my wallet. And we went and saw the Bruins and the Rangers at Madison Square Garden, which was fucking sick. And we saw the Devils and the Penguins out in Meadowlark. And we saw Yager, Jaromir Jagr, score a fucking goal, which was sick. And it was awesome. So that's what I did. I went to New York. Maybe go to New York. I don't know. That's what I did. But anyways. And as far as advice I wish I'd received when I turned 30, stop listening to other people's opinions. Just don't. And I mean that. It took me a long time to get there. Don't listen to what other people think. Fuck them. Be you. Fuck them. Happy birthday, buddy. Just Car Pranks said, "Hello, Mr. Blank. Long-time listener, first-time blower for real." All right, well, if you put the for real in there, I believe you. Okay, so I've always had questions I wanted to submit, but I never did. So many questions to ask. This one is trying to understand Canadian pronunciations. Why is it that there's absolutely no accent, but there are words that come up in this podcast and a hockey podcast, Puck Soup, that I don't understand? First, drama is drama. How do you say it? Drama? It's drama. I don't know how you say drama. And another, which you don't do this, but Mario turns into Mario or Marrow. Couple times in Puck Soup, either the game Marrow Brothers or Marrow Lemieux comes up, and the pronunciation catches me off guard every time. What's up with this? Well, as you all can tell, if you've been listening to my show with any regularity, I can't say most words. I have a hard time pronouncing names and big words, anything more than 3 syllables and everything like that. So chances are the problem is just that we here in Canada are not taught how to say words. So if someone is saying, I don't understand how they're saying drama wrong, but apparently they're saying drama wrong. Marrow is fucking weird. Mario, I could live with, but I like Mario. I take a lot of shit for the way I say garage, car hold. I don't know how I'm supposed to say it. Yeah, but no, I think I'm starting to realize that here in Canada, we're just not taught how to say words. So, our apologies, Just Car Pranks, which is another Canadian thing we would do. B. Scrat said, "Hello there. I'm playing a run of Super Mario World on the Switch, and I have 2 thoughts. First, are you a classic D-pad player or a joystick? Myself, I was playing horrible until I realized I was playing with a joystick, so once I fixed that, it was much better." First of all, before I get to your second question, if anyone out there is playing classic 2D platformers with the joystick instead of the D-pad, you deserve to die. Like, not in real life, but you deserve to fall down the holes and get hit. Jesus. B. Scrat, double secret probation, and I haven't done that in a long time. You don't play classic 2D side-scrollers with the fucking analog stick. You fucking monsters. Jesus Christ. I don't even want to fucking read your second question. Jesus. Second, I think the map from Super Mario World would make the best Mario Kart track. Imagine racing around the map with the end goal being Bowser's Castle. You can take multiple different routes trying to find the best way or race through the Star World to get there. Okay, I'll take it back to single secret probation because that's a fucking awesome idea. That would make a sick Mario Kart track. The Super Mario World map, you go through like Yoshi's Island or whatever, and then the Vanilla Dome, and then through the forest and down to Choco Plains and into Bowser's Valley, and you could take Star World. Oh my god. single secret probation, because that's a good idea. But don't play fucking 2D side scrollers with the analog stick. Jesus. Mr. Persona say, hey Adam, what are your thoughts on Wave 5 of Mario Kart 8, especially after getting your ass kicked? I'm asking for a friend of a friend. Jokes aside, what is your opinion on it? Yeah, I was playing it with the community the other day, and I was consistently third to fourth, but never winning. Honestly, dude, like I think all the new tracks, most of the new tracks they've added, some of the tour tracks suck, but most of the new tracks that they've added to Mario Kart 8 have been dope. I think Wave 5 has been the best wave so far. If you've been on the fence about picking them up, this has been, these tracks are fucking superb. They are really, really good. I'm really impressed, and I can't wait to see what they do with Wave 6. Calling it now, Wave 6, 4 tracks are going to be Rainbow Road. That's my prediction. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that final cup will be all Rainbow Roads. But yes, the Wave 5 of Mario Kart 8 tracks have been outstanding. Fucking outstanding. Maurice Del Taco said the Blank Man, golf retall extraordinaire. Shout out to him who gets that reference from my shitty comedy act. Have you ever quit playing a game because it was just ruining your after work chill time? I uninstalled Call of Duty because I was getting so mad at it every time. Now me and my buddies just journ some jazz cigarettes and play easygoing games. Oh, buddy. I've rage quit so many games. I could do a whole expansion pass about rage quits. Maurice Del Taco. I almost rage quit Mario Kart 8 the other day playing it because I was getting hit with everything. It was pissing me off. I'm a rage quitter to the extreme. I think one in particular, actually, believe it or not, was MLB The Show. As much as I love MLB The Show, I play on that difficulty that adjusts based on how well you're doing, and I kind of got myself trapped in this spot. I can't remember what difficulty. It was pretty high up, and I couldn't buy a hit to save my life, but I wasn't playing bad enough to get it to drop down, and I was just getting pissed off. So, and that was used to be my go-to after work game, was MLB The Show. So that, NHL, I haven't played NHL in years, but who listening to this that plays the NHL games has not been fucked over by a hot goalie or a bad goal and rage quit it at least once? Especially if you're playing like your season mode and you're in the playoffs and you get fucked over. Oh, fuck. Fucking video games. Lots. But those are the two that stand out to me. Namaste home with my dog. I like that handle. Said, since I'm new, forgive me if this has been answered before. Did you get the letter time chime from Video and Arcade Top 10? One of the greatest Canadian video game shows of all time. Shout out to Nicholas Pickles. I did. For anyone that's new to the show, I'm about to queue up the letter time letter. That is where I stole it blatantly from Video and Arcade Top 10. And actually, if you go back in the archives, it's a couple years old now, but there's actually an interview with Nicholas Pickles from Video and Arcade Top 10. And one of my favorite episodes. You can find that in the Remember the Game library here if you scroll back somewhere. And finally, before we move on, it is letter time. It's letter time. Num.mp3 wrote in and said, sup, blank, what are your feelings on piracy as it concerns the older titles, especially the ones that are harder or more expensive to obtain? Games that come to mind are the older Pokemon games. They normally go for hundreds of dollars. Should I suck it up and fork over the big bucks if I want to play these in their original forms, not remakes? Or what? It's okay, Uncle Adam. Be harsh if need be. I can take it. This is topical because I got talking about this on social media this week, and we've talked about this before, but I just want to reiterate my stance because I know the community grows and we get new people in here. So I'm in the Steam Deck Reddit subreddit on Reddit, and somebody had posted about how they were adding all the old Pokemon games to their Steam Deck, and they were trying to find ROMs for the current Switch Pokemon games like Arceus and Ruby and Sapphire, whatever. You know, there's like 4,000 Switch Pokemon games. And I commented and I just said, you can get those games on the Switch and buy them from the rights holder. And I got downvoted to shit in that subreddit. And then I posted it online and it started a discussion. So I just want to make my feelings on ROMs and emulation clear. If a game is first of all, if you're emulating and playing ROMs of like current Switch, PS5, Xbox, even last gen PS4, Xbox One, like if you're stealing games that are still readily available from the rights distributors, you're stealing, and I won't move off that. I don't agree with it. You're stealing, and I've had people be like, Nintendo can afford it. I'm like, that's literally so not the point. If you came into my house and took $100 out of my wallet, I could afford it. Does that mean you can just take it? No. If you stole all my podcasts that I sell on Patreon and put them up for the fucking world to download off Napster or whatever people use these days, like, would it end me? Probably not, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. So no, if it's current games, don't steal them, because people are like, well, the big companies can afford it. That's so not the point. People are so entitled these days, and they just steal shit that doesn't belong to them, and it's wrong. It's fucking wrong, and I won't move off it. I don't like it. It pisses me off, and I don't like it. But if we're talking older games, and people are like, well, what's your definition of an older game? I don't know, okay? Just my stance on old games and ROMs and emulation is if the game is available from the rights holder, I won't emulate it. You know, if I want to play DuckTales, I can buy that in the Disney Afternoon Collection. I'll buy the actual. I won't emulate Mega Man because I can buy the Mega Man games. I won't emulate Mario games because I can sign up for Nintendo Online and play the old Mario games there. If I can buy a game from the holder, the rights holder, I will. Case in point, you brought up like the old Pokemon games. Now that the 3DS eShop is down, Nintendo is not selling those anywhere. So as far as I'm concerned, if your only options, and this goes for any game, if your only options are to emulate it or pay some weenie at the flea market, $100 for an old copy, emulate away. If the companies that own them don't want to sell them to us, then I'll go out and find a way to play them. But if the company is selling them, I'll buy them from them. And that goes not just for Pokemon, but just across the board. So that's my feelings on emulation. I won't move off that. Somebody brought up a great point. And they were like, remember the Dreamcast? You guys know the massive reason the Dreamcast died is because their games were so easily pirated and everybody was just pirating them. And these companies aren't going to keep making games if everyone's just stealing their games. And so I know Nintendo will be fine, but don't steal their shit. But if the game's not available anywhere, fuck that. Like my NES Classic, my Super Nintendo Classic, my Genesis Classic, they're all full of classic games. And mostly ones that I just can't get anywhere. So that's where I'm going to play them. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So I hope I made my stance clear on that. That's how I feel about it. Okay, we got to move on. Thank you for all the submissions, everybody. As always, let's switch things up and get into our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. It is Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week I give our patrons 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. And this week, or as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. And we'll get to that in a minute. That's what I meant to say. This week we're talking Metroid Prime, so I went with 3 more GameCube exclusives, Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario Sunshine, and Star Fox Adventures. And the problem was I had Luigi's Mansion and Mario Sunshine, and then I wasn't sure what Nintendo game I could plug in there that could stand up to Mario and Luigi, and it turns out the answer was not Star Fox, because 47% of you said play Luigi's Mansion, remake Sunshine, and erase Star Fox Adventures. So let me see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. Fancy Slim Shady said remake Luigi's Mansion because it's getting remade, play Mario Sunshine because it's available on Switch, delete all Star Fox games because they're overrated. I agree with the Star Fox thing. For the record, though, Luigi's Mansion isn't. It's Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, the one from the DS, is the one that's getting the remake, not the original. But I do agree on the Star Fox games being a little overrated. I agree with that. Jet Fuel said, I think this is my first time playing. I respect your honesty, Jet Fuel. I usually don't have much history with the games, but as an early 90s baby, the GameCube was my childhood. Play Mario Sunshine. I love 3D Mario and never got around to this one for some reason. I never owned it as a kid, but have not 1 but 2 GameCube discs in my collection staring at me from my backlog from hell. Remake Star Fox. I loved this game as a kid, and I've beaten it 3 times now. I grew up playing Star Fox 64 religiously, and getting the opportunity to play as Fox in a Zelda-esque adventure was right up my alley. That being said, it's one of those games from my childhood that I know nostalgia heavily impacts my feelings for it. And finally, Erase Luigi's Mansion. I have great memories of this game as well, but I really want to play Sunshine, and them's the rules. Nothing wrong with that. Dude, so many weeks I get shit from people for the game I delete, and I'm like, I don't want to delete this one. It's just, I have to delete one, because as Jet Fuel just said, them's the fucking rules. And without rules, we're no different than the animals. Except the animals with rules. Mike Claysmith said, remake Luigi's Mansion, as I loved Luigi's Mansion 3 and I've not played the first one. I really don't want to hook up my old Wii that played GameCube games in order to try it out. That is sound logic. Erase Star Fox, because screw just about everything Star Fox related and I just don't want to play it. By default, I'll play Mario Sunshine. I prefer my Mario 2D, but the game wasn't bad. You know what? I can live with remaking any GameCube game in these polls simply to get it on the Switch so you don't have to hook something up to play it. I can live with that logic every time. Mega Jim said, well, I totally could easily agree with the majority that Star Fox Adventure Adventure is probably the best erase choice. I feel that there's a good idea somewhere in there that could be done well with a good remake. I've never cared for Mario Sunshine, and I wouldn't miss it if it was erased. Luigi's Mansion is a charming little game that I could easily replay any day. That said, I don't think it really needs a remake, and if you want something newer, well, that's what the 2 follow-up games are for. I can actually get on board with that. You're going to hear my thoughts in a minute, but we're on similar wavelengths. Mega Jim. And Michael Patrick said, play Luigi's Mansion because it's perfect the way it is and the sequels are great as well. Remake Mario Sunshine, HD graphics, and fix that fucking camera. And then erase Star Fox Adventures because it simply didn't click with me. It's such a downgrade from Star Fox 64. Fair enough. I can live with that. Fix the fucking camera in Sunshine. I agree. Fuck, I hate that camera. I'm going with the runner-up this week. 22% of you voted the way I did, as did DePitzy Jr., who said, I'd play Luigi's Mansion because I've never played it and I'd love to. I'd remake Star Fox Adventures because Star Fox could use some love lately, and erase Mario Sunshine mainly because I'm a 2D Mario game guy and not a big fan of the 3D Marios. Sorry, rules are rules. I would have the same order. Different reasoning, same order. I'd play Luigi's Mansion because it's delightful. And we have Luigi's Mansion 3 and the remake of Luigi's Mansion 2 or Dark Moon or whatever coming to the Switch. So I don't really need this one remade. I'll just play it as it is. It's fine. This might shock people. I'm going to remake Star Fox Adventures, despite never playing it and not really liking Star Fox, because it would be another classic Nintendo franchise brought back from the dead and might bring me one step closer to a new F-Zero game. So I'll play remake Star Fox Adventures, and I'm going to erase Mario Sunshine, despite my position on the board of the Mario fan club. I've never loved Mario Sunshine. I think it controls like shit. I think it's annoying, and it introduced Bowser Jr., and I hate him. And maybe if we erase Mario Sunshine, we'll erase Bowser Jr., which would be a blessing among blessings. So that's my thought process here. Thank you to everyone that played as always. I'll tell you what I've been playing over the last week, and then we'll get into Metroid Prime in just a moment after we pause for a quick word from one of my sponsors. We've had some great partners over the years here at Remember the Game, but I don't know if any of them have hit home for me quite like Hometown Hero does. No pun intended. Don't start. It's a transparent, honest cannabis company that helps people and gives back to those that have served their country at the same time. I mean, come on. As soon as I read about these guys, I knew I wanted to work with them. Hometown Hero is a cannabis company out of Austin, Texas, and they were founded back in 2015 by a U.S. veteran. They have 2 goals: create premium hemp products that can help everyone, and to support veterans by donating a portion of those profits to organizations set up to take care of those who have served. Hometown Hero products are of the highest quality, and everything they offer is made right there in the U.S. of A. Gummies, caramels, chocolates, drink mix. There's something for everyone. And what's more, their hemp is grown locally in Texas, which is something they should and do take a lot of pride in. And they offer certificates of analysis for everything they sell because they want to be clear that their products are as advertised, both in terms of potency and ingredients. No contaminants, you get what you pay for. Just how they conduct business is enough to get my good eyes' attention. But when you circle back to the fact that the company was founded by a veteran and they put such heavy emphasis on supporting veterans, this isn't just lip service. I'm not reading a script I was given here. I'm proud to have Hometown Hero associated with Remember the Game. Reclaim your evening. Visit hometownhero.com and use code RTG to take 20% off your first purchase. That's hometownhero.com, code RTG for 20% off your first purchase. This is an ad by BetterHelp. A band once said, "Work sucks, I know." And I think most people agree with them. Workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing higher than normal levels of stress from their jobs. And while walking away from your job might not be an option, taking a little time every day to focus on yourself and your mental health can make a huge difference. I know in the summer I try to get outside every day, get a little bit of sun, and just enjoy the outdoors. It really helps. At least until my allergies attack, and then it's ugly. It's important to take steps to combat work stress, and therapy can be a huge one. It's not just for overcoming trauma. Therapy can help you define work goals, set some work boundaries, develop coping skills. It's like a cheat code for life. And if you're thinking, man, I'm too busy for therapy, well, look into BetterHelp. They make therapy as convenient as possible. You can meet with one of their over 30,000 therapists online and on your schedule, just like over 5 million people around the world already have done. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/rememberthegame. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Okay, what have I been playing over the last week? Mostly Metroid Prime on my GameCube. A lot of it to get ready for this episode. I've also been playing Final Fantasy 16 quite a bit. It is excellent. I will review that on Expansion Pass when I finally finish it. I don't know when that will be. I've been playing AEW Fight Forever. Mixed opinions. I'll tell you what I think about that on Expansion Pass tomorrow. And then on the side, I've been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy 6, the Pixel Remaster on my Steam Deck to get ready for an upcoming episode of the show. I've played Final Fantasy 6 before, but any excuse to replay it. It's a good game, man. Don't forget Shadow. The people that know. Let's talk Metroid Prime. That's why you kids are here. As always, I like to let you nerds sound off in the comments before my guests and I hog the microphone. We had a lot of comments this week. I'm going to rip through a bunch of them here. Kelly said, this game is amazing. I played this for the first time around January and adored it. This game's atmosphere and the soundtrack are unbeatable. Mix that with the really fun combat and you've got a great game. I would sit down and play this while listening to either your podcast or watching episodes of The Completionist. Good memories. I actually listened to a lot of YouTube videos during my playthrough of this as well. That's funny that you say that. Not of The Completionist, but of all kinds of different things. It is a great fucking game. Well said, Kelly. Nathan Thunder said, I'm currently playing the remastered version after finishing a playthrough of Dread. I thought Dread was just an artfully crafted game that Prime... I thought Dread was just such an artfully crafted game that Prime felt slow and dated in comparison. I'm enjoying my time with it, but I wish I would have played it at the time it came out so it wouldn't be a Dread shadow. I'm excited for Prime 4. That's fair. They're my top two games now, Metroid or Prime and Dread. But if you played Dread right before you played Prime, yeah, I can see how Prime feels a little slow. I understand that. Rich Mays, I'm excited for Prime 4 as well. Rich Mays said, this game was one of the games that made me feel like less of a bitch when my friends had PS2s and Xboxes. They were playing Time Splitters, Halo, Metal Gear, etc. while I had Mario Sunshine and Kirby's Air Ride. This, along with Resident Evil 4, finally somewhat justified my cute purple cube as more than just a toy. The game was great, and I love the mechanics. I would love to see a sequel or a remake of this game. Well, I have good fucking news for you, Rich Mays. If you have a Switch, Metroid Prime Remastered is out on the Switch right now, and apparently it's pretty fucking sexy. But I've not played it, but apparently it's pretty fucking good. Yeah, you're right. Metroid Prime and Resident... I'll tell you right now, hot take maybe, and I know that Resident Evil 4 eventually ended up on everything, but at one point it was a GameCube exclusive. Metroid Prime and Resident Evil 4 could stand toe-to-toe with anything PS2 and Xbox were doing. Hot take. But I don't care. I stand by it. J-Smack said, Metroid Prime is my Super Mario World, my favorite game of all time, and I even grew up in the SNES era. But the new approach to storytelling put this one over the top. I know some people don't like scanning, but I love that explorative approach to the narrative. That's possibly why I liked Horizon so much when it came out as well. Yeah, we get into the scanning a bit. I didn't do the scanning, but I thought it was awesome that it was in there. Yeah, you'll hear that in 2 minutes here. And Bradley Morton is going to have our last take. Bradley said, I have so much nostalgia for this game, it hurts. Picture this funny little story. I'm almost at the Fazed Mines. I can't save, and the parents say it's time to go. So I leave my GameCube on all day while we're gone to a family reunion. We come home, and the parents find out I left the cube on, so I get grounded and lose my GameCube for 6 months. The anticipation of finish it ate me alive. My dad forgot he took it from me, so I probably could have gotten it back sooner if I'd asked. I still beat the shit out of this game, and it's firmly in the top 3 of my all-time games list. The remake is fire. Bradley, I just want to say, if your parents... Listen, I can understand being grounded off your cube for a few days for leaving it on. I used to do that with my Nintendo. 6 months? Your parents should be in jail. Fucking prison. Jesus. Anyways... thank you, everybody that wrote in. It's time to talk Metroid Prime. That's why you're here. I'm excited. Hoagie Man's excited. Let's do this. I'm going to queue up some outstanding music. And when it stops, Blaine The Hoagie Man and I, with a possible guest appearance by somebody else, are going to make a quick... what was I trying to say? That throwing in the guest appearance fucked me all up. We're talking Metroid Prime, which originally released on the GameCube on November 18th, 2002. Their guest appearance is 3 seconds long. Don't get excited. Enjoy the podcast. Let's go. All right, so as I'm sure I said during the intro, and you can guess by the music and the title of the episode and all that good stuff, we are talking Metroid fucking Prime for the Nintendo GameCube, and I guess for the Nintendo Switch now. And we'll get into all that and all that kind of stuff in just a minute. Joining me this week via the blank phone is a good buddy of mine, and as I've mentioned already, the fourth of the four horsemen of the Stollery Children's Hospital apocalypse, I guess. Four guys that donated to my 24-hour stream fucking 8 months ago. They're finally getting their episodes, and that is Blaine The Hoagie Man. Blaine, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling good like a motherfucker. How about yourself, Blank Man?
I'm so excited to talk about this game. I love this game. This is gonna be dope. Before we get into this game, though, the same thing I said to Capnan and Juris and McG. Thank you for your donation to my stream last year, and maybe more so, thank you for your patience, because I know this took a long fucking time. So thank you for waiting and not yelling at me to get to your podcast. I appreciate your patience, man.
Oh, no problem, man. It's just I'm actually happy to do it. Like, it was for a good cause, and yeah, just really happy to be here.
Yeah, and you picked a fucking banger in Metroid Prime. And like, admittedly, I'll get into my history with this game and my limited playtime with it prior to this review and everything. But I guess I want to kick the show off, dude. Why? Because you could have picked from a wide variety of games. Why Metroid Prime?
So as far as Nintendo franchises go, I would say Metroid is like number one for me. And I know that a lot of the other Metroid games have already been covered. And I'm like, I just got to get on, talk about a game I enjoy. And I know I would try to get with other M, but obviously that's on the Wii. Can't do that. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, Metroid Prime's a much, much better game. So I was like, absolutely, let's go with that one.
Okay, and that was going to be the first thing I was going to ask you was, like, do you like this game? But is this so? I've played Metroid on the NES, Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, Super Metroid on the SNES, Metroid Fusion on the GBA, Metroid Prime on the GameCube, and Metroid Dread on the Switch. And my top two for sure are Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime. And I think I like Metroid Dread like a smidge more, and that's just primarily my bias toward 2D gameplay over 3D. But right. Is this your favorite Metroid?
I'd say probably at least third favorite. I will say I like Super the best, and I would say Dread probably still inches it out for me. Yeah. And then I could flip-flop Fusion and Prime, but I'd say for the most part, yeah, definitely Prime is one of my favorites. Top three, easily.
For sure. Yeah, Prime is like, I mean, fuck. Just for the like, there's a review of Metroid Dread in our expansion pass archives if you're interested. And I know we're talking Prime, but like, how fucking good was Metroid Dread? Like, fucking
it was incredible, and the fact that it just came out of nowhere when it was announced, and everyone's like, my mind fucking exploded, dude.
Me too. I remember watching that direct, and Nintendo was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, that Metroid person, we have a brand new game in that franchise, and it's available in like 3 weeks or whatever the fuck it was." And then all played it, and it was it won Game of the Year in our community handedly. It was just fucking sick. It was so good. Fuck me, it was so good. But this has always been the one that everybody goes to. Like, I've been looking up some lists, like ranking, because I've just been curious since I finished this. I'm like, so where does this sit amongst like the greatest Metroid games of all time? And if it's not number one, I mean, now the remastered version is number one on a lot of lists, the Switch version. But if it's not number one on a lot of lists, it's top 2 or 3. And now I get it. I gotta say, man, this is a fucking remarkable video game. It's wow. And for it to, like, you remember when Mario went to 3D with Mario 64 and it was like, wow. And then Zelda did it with Ocarina and it was like, wow. Metroid skipped the 64 and then went from 2D to 3D with a first-person shooter on the GameCube. And admittedly, the GameCube is a more powerful system than the 64. But I am fucking shocked that they could pivot away from 2D and go to 3D and do it so well in their first try. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking there was supposed to be a Metroid 64, but I kind of thankful that they just skipped over that.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, as far as their first outing with a 3D Metroid going, they literally knocked it out of the park, man. It's just like let's take the idea of just going, exploring an entire planet. You have to like gather all your resources. Obviously the Metroidvania of backtracking, going to different places after you get certain items and stuff like that, and just opening it up to like a more like 3D realm was just incredible for me.
It's fucking, and what was wild about it was, so I think I explained this quickly during the intro, but like I tried playing this game back in the GameCube's heyday, like probably around 2002 when it came out. I'd never played a Metroid game back then, and I only bought it because it was reviewing so well that I was like, oh, well, this game must be spectacular. And I played a few hours and I thought it was neat, and then I just kind of dropped it for whatever reason. I didn't go back. And then I didn't try playing it again until the last few weeks when I played it on my GameCube. And I think the thing that impresses me the most about Metroid Prime is the way it it looks and feels like a 2D Metroid game, but in 3D. Like if I didn't know better, you could almost convince me this is Super Metroid, like remake or something, and I would believe it. Like it doesn't feel, considering what a big pivot it is from the old Metroid games, every Metroid game up to it, they still captured that essence of a Metroid game, despite going completely different. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I know this game and Fusion came out literally around the same time, so it was
Yeah.
like taking like like we were just saying, the Metroid formula and just expanding it to a 3D realm. And I also want to point out like the detail that they put in this
Oh,
game, because you
go
can
ahead.
run down a hallway and like you're looking at it through Samus's point of view, and so like you run down a hallway, there's like steam vents, you get your face, a steam vent covered up, or like if you're outside in the rain drops right on you. It's like
Yeah.
everything they could have went with, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, one thing I noticed that really blew me away in the middle of my playthrough, I don't remember where I was, but I got hit by an enemy and I saw Samus's eyes
mhm,
in the reflection in her visor.
yeah.
And I'm sure it had been happening prior to that. I just didn't catch it, but I noticed that. I was like, what a, and I want to make sure I make this clear to everybody. And we'll get into the remake, the remaster, whatever you want to call it, but like, I have not played the new Switch version. I only played the GameCube version. So like when I'm praising the graphics of this, like the eyes in the visor and even the little, like you met, like her gun, like her laser arm and the way it looks with different weapons on it and the way it looks when it's charging up and everything, like it looks so awesome. And this is fucking graphics from 21 years ago. Like and listen, Blaine, like you and I are both Nintendo. Like Nintendo's not known for their graphics. That's not their wheelhouse. And
That
I'm
was
playing this and I'm like, this is insane. This looks so good.
that was Retro Studios is what made that great. And I also
Yeah.
where you're talking about the arm cannon, it's like when you had the ice beam ready and you're charging it and her whole arm just freezes over until you let go of that button,
Yeah.
or when you're shooting the power beam really, really fast and like all of a sudden you stop and you just see smoke coming out of the end of the gun. It's just like I said, all those little details they didn't have to do, but I'm just really appreciative that they did.
Me too. Like there is and like you know what? Like I've been thinking about this for a couple of days and trying to figure out how I wanted to say it. Because I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting Metroid, because I like the Metroid games now. I didn't play them back then, but now that Metroidvanias are one of my favorite genres, and I've become I'm really a big Metroid fan now. I got to play all the games now. I love these games. But like, I'm, I'm a little, I'm a little shocked that they went so balls to the wall with Metroid. And I'm not trying to dunk on it, but like, this isn't Mario. This isn't Zelda. We still had F-Zero at this point. We still had Star Fox at this point. Kirby was still around at this point. Yoshi, Pokemon. Like it's Metroid. And I know now Metroid is like a household name and everybody knows it, but like Samus, like you said, this Infusion came out around the same time. Samus was fucking dead in the water for years. And then for them to come back this is how you rejuvenate a franchise. Like this is for all you game developers out there. This is how it's done. You come out and swing for the fences with a game like this.
I would say though, after the initial Prime trilogy and then like up until when Dread released, I would feel like the Metroid series did kind of flounder a bit, because then they went with, again, as previously mentioned, Other M, and then of course
Yeah.
fucking Federation Force, which I don't even know what the hell that was. So like Yeah, when they had to skip the N64 generations, like, yeah, let's like I said, just go balls to the wall, like you were saying. But then once again, just they kind of dropped the ball essentially after
Yeah.
that, and it was just like,
And I
come
mean,
on.
and she's back now, right? Like
Yeah,
Metroid Dread was pretty universally loved by people, and I have not, and I really do want to talk about the Metroid Prime remaster. We'll get there in a second, but
yeah.
my everybody seems to have loved that. It was really well done, and I know people are excited about Metroid Prime 4 if it ever. At this point, I'm not convinced that game ever comes out, but
We
if it
probably have another
does,
decade at minimum.
yeah, but if it ever does, I'm sure it'll be fun. It's really cool to see Samus and to see Metroid back, like in such a big way. Because I think one of the criticisms of Nintendo, I know I fucking throw it out all the time, is they have all these great IPs and it's always another Zelda and another Mario and another Pokemon. And I get that those are the ones that move the needle. But Metroid is like for years was in that F-Zero class, that Star Fox class, the Punch Out class, like the games that have been forgotten about. And it's so cool to see her back in such a big way with a couple of great games in Dread and Prime Remastered, and people are stoked for Metroid Prime 4. And I got to imagine like maybe they just weren't selling that well. Like it
I
is
don't
a
think
niche franchise, right? Like
I would say it's probably like as far as their niche franchises go, like it's probably their biggest seller in that aspect. But yeah, it's definitely not touching no Mario or Zelda.
no, I wonder if just the explosion of Metroidvanias. Like the indie world has done so much for Metroidvanias.
Right.
And I wonder if maybe that has played a role in Nintendo being more interested in these games now. You know, that like they're like there's a market for Metroid games now.
I mean, it's a possibility because like what, Hollow Knight's probably a huge fucking
Oh,
game,
Hollow Knight's huge.
or like trying to think of another
The
one, but
Ori
yeah,
games were big.
that one too.
Axiom Verge was big. Like it's but they're all indie games. And I think
Mhm.
that this is like the big main line. And they were like, yeah, we fucking like
We coined that phrase right
we
there.
literally own half of that name, like
Exactly.
Metroid. Like, yeah.
Hmm.
So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Okay, we'll get into the whole game and everything in a second. I wanted to quickly ask you, I have not played the remaster. I assume you've played both, the GameCube and the
Yes.
remaster. Is the remaster worth it?
Oh, absolutely. I will say though, when it comes to like the mapping of the controllers, like when you play with the GameCube controller on the original, I'm sure the Switch is the C stick, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you're using like a regular Switch controller, you just kind of have to hold the X button and then you hit the arrow buttons over
Oh,
in order for that. Same thing with the visor switch, but you have to
yeah.
hold the X button to change the guns. That other than that, it's much better graphics and it's pretty much the same exact game. Other than that, those two
Okay.
aspects.
Okay. Because like I'm like I'll tell you right now, like it's I don't know if I'm gonna buy it right. Okay, so here's kind of what I've been thinking. I've been saving up my Nintendo Gold coins forever on my eShop account, and I have enough now that I could get Metroid Prime Remastered for like $11. So I just have too much to play right now that I'm like I don't really need it yet. But if I see it on a sale or if I buy another game and get a few more coins, I'm going to buy this. Like I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own
Oh,
this game.
absolutely. I
Be-
100% endorse that.
Right. Like playing it on the GameCube was dope. And I'm glad I did because I'm glad I experienced it where it came out. And any
Yeah.
excuse I have to use that GameCube controller, I'm all about it because I fucking love that controller. But there was just the odd thing. And I do want to, we should actually start talking about the game now instead of just how much we fucking love Metroid.
Yeah.
The one, so you know me, I want to get the bad out of the way. There's not
Yeah.
a lot of bad, but I do want to get a little bit of the bad out of the way. I did find the controls at times a little bit odd, particularly platforming. Platforming in a 3D first person game is never easy. There was a couple instances in this game where you need to climb very tall rooms, and trying to stick some of those jumps drove me fucking mad. Maybe I just suck. I don't know.
Oh, I will say that at the beginning of the game, they usually make it kind of simple because you don't even have that double jump yet. And so they're like, okay, as long as you can just hop over here, you'll be fine. But
Yeah.
then after you get that, the game's like, all right, now that you got that, hopefully you can make these couple jumps. And sometimes there is a timing issue where it's like you may have to jump and then jump right away after that, or it might be a jump, pause, jump again, and then you can clear that space. So it just depends on like how you time it sometimes. But yeah, I understand what you mean. because
Yeah.
like there were times when I would jump and like maybe like the ceiling would be a little too low and I'd
Oh,
hit my head and it just fall the fuck back down, and that's a pain in the ass.
that and like again, I don't know what it's like on the Switch because maybe with the Switch you have the dual analogs. It's easier to look around on the GameCube. If you want to change the way Samus is looking as far as a vertical motion, you need to hold the right trigger. Then you
Right.
can push up or down because you're only moving her with the one left analog because the
Yeah.
C analog is just your weapons.
Hmm.
So you can turn and move forward and backwards with the left analog, and then if you want to look up or down, you hold right trigger. And when you're trying to stick these double jumps, you straight up can't look down to see where you're landing and still do like you've got to kind of just I know where that platform is. I think 2 jumps will put me on it. And that frustrated, especially toward the end. For the record, everybody, we are gonna have some minor spoilers in this episode. It's 20+ year old game. Right near the end, when you're getting ready for the final fight, and you have to climb that fucking tower with the lava underneath, and the Metroids are flying around trying to get you. I must have fallen in there a dozen times, and I couldn't look down to see where I was trying to fucking land. And it was frustrating. When you played on the Switch, can you just look down with the other analog instead of having to hold right trigger to look down?
Yeah, because I never had to hold her right. Because now that
Oh.
you brought that up, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, you don't have to hold anything down to look around. You can, yeah, it is dual
that
analog.
that alone makes it worth the price of admission. Because if I that is my biggest gripe with this game was
Yeah,
just sometimes the platforming was just frustrating. Sometimes, most times didn't matter. But again, though, there just seems like there's that fucking end part where you have to climb that tower with the lava underneath. There's the part where you have to climb the kind of slanted hole wall in the water.
yeah,
There's I feel like there's 3 or 4 instances in this game where you're that fucking part near the end where there's all the mushrooms and you're trying to jump from mushroom to mushroom.
yeah.
Oh my god, dude. I fell in there so many fucking times. And because I couldn't look down at where I was trying to land. And on the note of the platforming, the grappling hook is I found it tricky to use in this one too. I
Oh
just
yeah,
couldn't stick
the
anything.
grappling beam is kind of a nuisance because if you need to turn yourself, you have to like hang there for a while and then slowly
Mhm.
turn yourself as you're going
And the
until you get
platforms,
lined up properly.
yeah, and the platforms that you're grappling to, some of them move around all the time and they don't lock in place until you stick your grappling hook on them. And it was just like, it was cool because I could envision the 2D Super Metroid grappling hook in 3D, but
Yeah.
in execution, it was just tricky. And again, I think if I could look around easier, it probably would offset a bunch of those things.
Oh,
But
there was a room in that like the phase on hallway or some shit where there's like that floating creature flying around, and then there's
oh,
a mushroom you have to land on, but then you also have to fucking kill all the Metroids in that room.
yeah,
And those Metroids are like those like fission Metroids where they split and then you have to use certain beams to kill them.
yeah.
Yeah, that room pissed me off a little
Fucking
bit.
drove me crazy. So
Mhm.
so like again, if we're doing the gripe, and these are all my, I want to make sure I make this clear, and you'll hear it in my score at the end of the game. Like these are minor gripes. These are not. I'm not like, oh, this game fucking sucks. Minor fucking gripes. But I found the platforming frustrating. Um, I want to know what you think about this. I have seen some criticisms of the consistent backtracking. I've seen some people comment about it on social media since I posted up playing this and stuff. I will say for the most part, it didn't bother me, but I play a lot of Metroidvanias. Backtracking is just part of the course for these games. You get a new ability, you got to go back and use that new ability somewhere else. The only time the backtracking I found it a little bit frustrating in this game is near the end where you need to collect all the artifacts and you're getting the hints telling you where the artifacts are. And there's only minimal ways to get from one area to another. It's not a quick process. Like if you want to get to the Pandora Rifts or whatever, the winter area, like the only way to get there, I think, is through the Magmore place, and not every place has an elevator to go to Magmore. So it can be a lot of running around trying to find the right elevators to take you to the right areas. I found that not frustrating, but just a little bit of a nuisance at the end. A little bit. Not a huge deal. What do you think of the backtracking? Is it an issue for you?
It not so much, but like as you were saying, like yeah, if you wanted to go to the winter area, you have to go to certain places, so you always have to open the map up, and you kind of just have to scroll along. You're like, okay, well, I need to go here, so I have to go through this area to get there, and then take this elevator, and then hopefully I'm close to where I want to go, or else I'm trudging through a bunch of different rooms to get there.
Yeah. Just getting around and like again though, I don't think the backtracking is that big of a deal. I've played a lot of Metroidvanias that's just how backtracking, that's just how these games work. You get abilities, you go to new areas. You go back to areas and try out your new abilities. My last major criticism is that fucking, I don't care. I'll die on this hill. I hate that fucking map. I don't know if it gets better on the Switch or if I'm just an idiot, but I found that map to be the most frustrating fucking thing.
It's the exact same mapping system. I don't know if it's easier to scroll through because of the dual analogs and stuff like that, because it just behaves the same way. You go room by room, and you gotta turn it around, zoom out, all that shit. So no, it's the exact same type of map. I think probably when I first played it back in, like, when it first came out, I probably had a little bit of, but it's, like, you've just not used to the type of mapping system. So it's probably one of the things where it's like, oh, I have to move this shit around.
Yeah.
Where is this room at? Where does it go? So I probably had some trouble with it as well. It's not the best.
No, and that it's transparent. So like the layers, like in levels with multiple layers, they're stacked on top of each other, and trying to see, fuck, it made me crazy. But anyway,
there's a doorway. Sorry, yeah. There's a doorway that I couldn't even figure out how to get into, because like there's a bunch of like roots in the way, and I'm like, how the fuck do I get in here?
Yes.
And I didn't know if there was like a way to get it from the other side. And I'm like, fuck it. If there's nothing important in there, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yes. Okay, sorry everybody. Quick hiccup there, dude. It's so funny you mentioned that one door behind the tree. I guarantee you, half an hour of my playtime was trying to access that. I never did get into that door. That was the one door I never. Can you get in there? I never did.
If you can, I have no idea what the fuck is in there or how you get in that way.
Fuck, it made me crazy. I was like, I hit a point where finally I was like, that must be where the end game is. Like, that must be how it opens up, is I do everything else, and then I have to go in there for like the end game. But no, I finished the game never getting into that fucking door behind the tree.
And then lo and behold, it was useless the whole time.
Fucking door. Fuck. Knocked half an hour on I guarantee you it had a half hour to my time. So yeah, the map, I just found it frustrating because, like I said, especially in rooms where there were multiple layers, it was all clear and see-through, and I'm like, just give me a 2D map. Like, I get you're trying to be futuristic, but I hate this fucking map. I guess really the only other minor complaint I have is I won't lie to you. I didn't they weren't awful, but I didn't love the boss fights in this. I don't love boss fights, period. So this is far from the first game where I didn't love the boss fights. But I found that most of the boss fights in this game involved a lot of hurry up and wait, and just dodge and then wait for an opening to attack. And I just found them kind of like, not, like I say, not awful, but just kind of meh. I don't know. And that final boss against Metroid Prime can eat my ass, because I beat it on my second attempt, and by the time I got through the final stage of that boss, I literally had 4 health left on my final tank. I was Hail Marying, shooting it with the blaster and the Phazon, whatever the fuck it's called, hoping that I could kill it before I died. And I otherwise I would have lost my fucking mind, because that's a long fight to die right at the end.
And unfortunately, it's a 2-parter too, because it starts out you're fighting like a giant spider-looking alien thing, and luckily that has like a color coding where it's like, oh, shoot it with this beam in the face until you deplete its health, and now all of a sudden it's a giant jellyfish-looking thing, and the only way you can hurt it is if it pulls a Phazon shit on the ground, and you have to stand in it and then shoot her with that stuff. And then she'll disappear, and depending on what visor you need to use, and she changes it up all the time, and so you have to like figure out which one it is. So yeah, that part's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, dude. And I don't know about you, but like I'll admit it. I fucking hate when I have to look up how to do shit in a game. It's not me getting mad at the game. I'm mad at myself. I'm the type of guy that goes to an escape room and I'm like, I don't give a fuck if we never get out of the first room in this place. I'm not asking for a hint. Like, that is me. I'm that guy.
You're like, I live here now.
Yeah, exactly. And I hated that I had to look it up, but I won't lie to you. Like, I don't know about you. I could not figure out how to hurt that final form of Prime till I looked it up and saw I had to stand in the pools of stuff. And then even when I did, again, this goes back to not being able to look at your feet, or at least on the GameCube version. There's too much going on, and like, I'm locked onto the enemy. I can't then take my lock on off and look down to make sure I'm standing directly in the puddle. And there were so many instances where I would get in the puddle, but then not realize I was in the puddle until like a half second too late and be just out of the puddle. And then I'm walking around trying to find it the whole time. This Prime is just taking a big bite out of my ass.
I think they disappear after so long too. And
yeah.
My only issue again was the part with that part is just depending on which visor you had to use, because there's 4.
Yeah.
And you had to use 3 different ones just for that fight.
Yeah, you're constantly rotating them in and out.
Yeah, just to make sure you could see her at all times.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, it's just, again, and like, we're gonna get to the good because I love this game. I don't want people to think that like, oh, I love this game, but just I had to get those out of the way. I think the map frankly sucks. I thought the boss fights were okay, and I found the platforming a little bit frustrating. The backtracking I can live with. That's part of Metroidvanias.
I think the boss fight that I kind of was having an issue with was the one right before it with the Mega Elite Pirate.
Oh, Jesus.
Where it's that giant ass thing, and you have to like shoot it in like the 2 parts in the arms and the 2 parts in the legs, and then it disappears, and then little like space pirates come at you, and you have to get rid of them, and then it's replenishing its health, and you got to like find it with the X-ray visor, then shoot it directly on while it's exposed before it regenerates and everything.
Yeah,
that part I almost died on.
Yeah, I died there. So I got to that boss fight, the Omega Pirate, and I died 3 or 4 times, but I only had maybe 70 missiles and 4 or 5 energy tanks. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm just not good enough to beat this guy. I'm going to go back and do I did a clean sweep of the entire game. I did every area, like FBI searching for a fucking drugs in someone's house search.
I think I had like over 100 missiles for that, and I still almost died.
Yeah, I came back and I had 7 or 8 energy tanks and 135 missiles, and it still killed me one more fucking time. And then I got it because once I realized if you do the charge shot with the plasma beam and then shoot the missile at it, one shot can destroy a piece of his armor. Then I was okay because I'm like, okay, 4 shots, and now I can tee off on him when he's in his like recharge phase. But
and the other issue with that boss is it'll hold its hand out, and anytime you try to shoot it with a beam, it just deflects right off of it. So you can only shoot it with missiles on that part.
Yeah. So once I just had to go stock up. But have you got anything else bad to say before we get to the good? Because I have lots of good stuff I want to say.
The Chozo ghosts can kind of go fuck themselves a little bit.
Fuck. I didn't mind them unless it was a room where I had no choice but to fight them before I could move on. And then I got pissed off.
What's annoying with them is like I don't know what all works on them, but the only thing I could find that works on them is just the power beam. So I'll just wait till they appear and just shoot the shit out of them. Yeah. But yeah, there's like in the Chozo ruins, those like 1 room 3 appear, and if you just go down a hallway, the next room, then 2 more appear, then you go down to another hallway, and then next room 2 more appear, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but this needs to knock it the fuck off.
Yeah, I don't want to keep like bringing up complaints because I love this. I really like this game despite all this. But like on that note, I will say minor thing, but like a little bit more enemy variety would have been nice. It's a lot of the same few enemies.
Well, yeah, if you come back to a room, usually the enemies that you just killed come back and you have to kill them again.
And the thing about it was like with all the backtracking, it just got to the point where I was like, okay, I know when I go in this room, there's a purple guy across the hall and a purple guy around this corner. Take them out, then go around the corner. Then there's 3 yellow guys down here. Take them out. And then through that door, there's 2 Metroids. You know what I mean? And it was like a little bit of variety might have made it a little bit fresher, I guess. Minor thing. I don't even know if it's a complaint per se, as much as it's just a critical or a constructive criticism. I would have liked a little bit more variety to some of the enemies.
No, I agree. Because you like from the beginning of the game, as soon as because when you start the game, I figured I mentioned this. You don't start on the planet that you explore. You actually start in like a space station that you destroy, because that's what Samus just loves to do. So you just you go around there, and it's a pretty good tutorial level to get you used to everything. And then after you go there, once you land at the beginning, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead. Samus will go ahead and destroy all the flora and fauna she sees. But by the time you get to the end, you're like, all right, I just want to kind of get to the point.
Yeah, and especially because some of those enemies take a little while to fight. Like you can't kill them in 2 shots. unless
And
you want
some
to
of them
waste
you
all your
have to have
missiles.
the right stuff. Like you
Yeah,
can't just kill everything with just the wave beam. Sometimes you have to switch to the ice beam,
yeah,
and vice versa.
yeah. So minor thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I promise I want to get to the happy stuff.
Mm.
I want to say right off the top, you're right. That intro level does a great job because you finish that intro level and then shit goes wrong and then you end up on the planet where the game takes place. And I've praised this in other Metroid reviews. I love it when they give me a reason to when there's a reason for Samus to not just have all of her abilities. Like instead of just coming into this game guns ablazing, you need to go looking for your abilities. And I love that they set the tempo like that. And right out of the gate, when you're in that first, not in that little tutorial part, but when you're in the first like the open, like the main part of the game, and you get out of her ship, and I love seeing her ship, like the classic Super Nintendo ship, but like in this big fancy new version. And it
Yeah.
just looks like this giant open like rainforest world with 4 or 5 doors laying around. I think that is just such a spectacular intro to a game.
Oh yeah,
Like
I
it,
love the Talon overworld.
yeah, it's beautiful to look at, and it gives you this feeling. Eventually you realize like, oh, I can't even get to all these doors yet, but it gives you this feeling of like, all right, let's go exploring and see where the fuck we can go. I loved that whole intro part, and we've already talked about it, but like, I just can't stress enough how satisfying shooting her laser arm is, especially with that big A button on the GameCube controller.
Yeah.
It never gets old. Fucking never gets old. And
I, I
then go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I will say, as far as like the reason why she loses her abilities in this one, I find just a little bit silly because if you remember from Fusions, like, oh, she had X parasites, so they had to like tear off all her armor and give her some new stuff, so she had to lose everything. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, what did she have to overcome to get this? Is it some huge explosion that she had to survive and almost, died from? It's like, no, just more of like a minor explosion, and she just kind of bumped her head and
Yeah.
then everything just kind of sorted out.
Yeah, no question. But I'll take it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than
But
nothing,
I
but it's just
agree.
kind of
I
silly.
agree. It is kind of silly. I agree. So then you set out, you're just like exploring this fucking huge world. And I think and there's a lot of great things about this game. I think one of the brilliant things about Metroid Prime is the sheer amount of dude, this game has like fucking Elder Scrolls Skyrim levels of lore to it if you want to go around and scan everything. And I didn't. After a few scannings, I was like, all right, I've had enough of this. Like you said, I just want to play the game. But if you're like a hardcore fan or you want to get the 100% and you want to scan everything, you can turn on that fucking scanning visor and just go to town and lose yourself in this world. And I think it's a real testament to all the developers that they put so much like it's the attention to detail, like you said. They didn't have to do any of that. Like, I think people would love this game even if you couldn't scan fucking every single goddamn thing in the world and read a little blurb about it. But that they took the time to put it in there anyways, those are the little things that make a good game great. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I know like you mentioned about the scan visor, it's like it's also nice that if you're scanning an enemy and they're like, oh, this thing is weak, and then they'll usually have some like keyword like it's weak to like as covered in Bendezium. They're like, oh well, that means you should use a power bomb. I'm not saying they are like that, but I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
Or if like a concussive blast will, incapacitate this enemy, then you're just like, okay, just shoot it with missiles then.
Yeah.
So they give you hints and they give you kind of an idea of what you're supposed to do, and or else it's just a lore thing where it's like, oh, so and so tried to do this, and they failed at it, so they, and then it just continues on from there.
Yeah, like I play a lot of Metroidvanias, and there's nothing. It's funny. It's a two-edged sword because there's nothing more frustrating in a Metroidvania than when you're stuck and you can't figure out where to go. But there's nothing more satisfying in a Metroidvania than when you do figure it out. When you finally find that one place where you're like, fuck, that door there that I missed, or something like that. And there were numerous, like, it took me a long time to train my brain, but I finally got to the point where I was like, if I'm stuck in this game, throw on that scanning visor. And almost every time it figured out, like, oh, it looks like there's a power switch behind this grate, or oh, there's some power switches you need to hit to turn on this door. But it wasn't like lame Doom, find the blue key card, go to the blue door power switches. It was like you were exploring this like old civilization to like. I loved it. That I thought the scanning visor was fucking brilliant. And then, like
Yeah,
you said, when you're fighting a boss, first thing I did at every boss was scan them because it usually gave you some kind of a hint at least.
yeah. The game subtitle should have just been Metroid Prime. When in doubt, scan it out.
What a doubt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That scanner saves your fucking ass. And then
Mhm.
I love that you also get I really like the thermal visor and the way that like enemies and shit glow, like the heat detecting
Mhm.
kind of vision, but everything else goes all dark and purple, and it's really easy to find some enemies with it. I really enjoyed using that. I didn't love the X-ray visor as much. I only used
So
that when I had to.
So going, I know we're mostly talking about the GameCube version, but going back to the thermal visor, at least for the remaster version, I don't necessarily know if it was because seeing it in 4K, but I thought it was too bright. But then as I was watching your stream, I'm like, oh, it's actually supposed to be darker, but I don't necessarily know if it's the visuals on the TV I was using that made
Oh,
it fucked up. So I kind of was starting to get a little bit of a headache from it, but I will say it's probably better on the GameCube version as far as that goes.
yeah. The only time I found it to be almost too bright was near the end of the game when you're doing the jumps over the mushrooms.
Mhm.
I was using it in there a lot because I just found it easier to find the mushrooms I had to land on. But it is these giant glowing fucking orbs of mushroom that agreed they were a little bright. But like the X-ray vision, I thought it was really cool. But like, and one thing I loved about X-ray vision, again, little attention to detail. If Samus held her hand up in front of her, you saw like her skeleton,
Mhm.
like the skeleton of her hand. I fucking love that. But outside of what I needed it to find something or to find an enemy, I never used it because I found that way too bright. Everything just glowed white. And it was just I know the game's not intending for you to run around with the X-ray visor on. But I thought it was a cool concept, but I never really used it unless I had to.
Yeah, and I wouldn't use the thermal visor in the Magmore cameras because you ain't going to see shit except for bright
Nothing.
orange.
Yeah, everything just fucking glows. But again, though, I just think it's very cool that like so again, I can only speak to the GameCube version, but we're playing the GameCube version, that little D-pad on the GameCube controller, that's your 4 visors. And it's straight view, scanning view, thermal view, X-ray view. And it's
Hmm.
super easy to swap between. And it's none of them feel like gimmicks. There's legitimate times where you need all of them. And I really enjoyed that. And then I love that on the other side of your hub, you've got the 4 different guns: your ice gun, your plasma gun, the wave gun, and just your basic energy, like your power beam. And you and the GameCube, you switch those with the C stick. And again, it felt so seamless to switch your weapons, especially when you, like you said, near the end of the game, particularly, you get into areas where you're fighting enemies that are color coded and you need to have their weapon loaded up to fight them. I never found it frustrating to have to switch my weapon. Like it was so
Nah,
smooth.
absolutely. I also like how each beam basically has their own version of a super missile. So, like when you find the super missile for the power beam, that's what you use that for.
Yeah.
Or when the wave beam has like that, like beam that just shoots out and just latches onto an enemy. Or like, I guess the ice beam has something called like an ice spreader. So you just
Yeah.
I only used that for the first fight against Metroid Prime when she was weak to ice. It would just freeze right to her face and then explode, and then it was just instantly hurt her.
I never tried that.
I found the flamethrower one a little useless.
Yeah, I never honestly like because I agree with you. I love that all 4 guns had like and I like that you had to find like you could easily miss them.
Mhm.
The power ups.
Well, yeah, the ice beam one is literally underneath a bombable bridge
Yes.
that you just have to fucking look under.
So yeah, I was right near the end of the game and I hadn't found the ice beam power up, and I was like, I guess I'm just gonna accept I can't find it. And then I just happened to be running through a glass chamber, and I was like, I've played like in Super Metroid, there's a part where you have to drop a super bomb in a glass chamber and it shatters the glass and you can move on. And I was like, I wonder if they put that in this game. And I got completely lucky and did it and found that ice beam, and then just never really used it.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's funny because that hallway literally has a scannable thing that says this is made of bendesium. So it's like, well, fuck it. But
yeah, I love that. But for those powerful weapons, I use the super missiles with the main power beam a lot, where you charge it up and hit the missile button. And then I did like my favorite weapon in the game is the wave beam. Like I use that
yeah,
most of the time, the purple one. And when you charge that up and then hit the Y button, yeah, it was almost like a Ghostbusters proton beam type thing. And it would like home in. And I found that really useful for those fucking ghost guys. There's one ghost guy that you need to fight. It's at the end of that part where you go through the mines, which to me is the hardest part of the game. where you need to survive. I died in there so many fucking times trying to get through because there's no save points. You just go forever. But when I finally killed that last guy in there, that was what I used was the charged up wave beam, and it killed him in like 2 seconds. That thing ate missiles like they were candy, but it was powerful as fuck. I love that weapon.
The phase-on mimes are definitely really hard because that's basically where all the space pirates are. Like when you go through every other place, it's just more or less whatever natural like animals live there, and they just try to like they're like, oh shit, here comes Samus, and you're just mowing them all down.
Yeah, and then there's just no save points in there. Like you go forever until you get to a save point. I died 3 or 4 times in there. And I was getting so fucking mad because then there's that one puzzle where it's that giant tower. You need to spin around to line up the magnet strips so you can go up in your ball form.
No, I remember that one.
And fuck, I died in there so many times. And then once I finally got through it, I saved once and I was like, hey, I've never been so like, it was a little bit nice because it was almost like a throwback to we've all been made soft by games today where you get a checkpoint every 8 seconds. If you die, you're like, you go back around that corner you just came around. Whereas like in this one, dude, there were 2 or 3 instances, especially in those fucking mines, where I lost a good 20 minutes of work because I just could not get out of there without dying. Fuck.
And then it's worse. And then it's worse when all the Metroids get let loose and everything.
Yes. Those little fuckers. And then I died in that fucking poison pipe because I couldn't find the door out, and then it turned out the door was just on the ground level at the fucking end. But I read the map backwards because that fucking map sucks, and so I thought I was trying to get up to the hatch that came out of, and I kept trying to roll up that fuck that poison.
Did you find the thing to turn the poison off?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I wanted to know, what was your favorite area of the game?
Probably either the Talon overworld. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Either like the rainforesty looking overworld, or I really liked the Magmore caverns, the fiery part. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, I liked the music in there a lot. The music in all this game is awesome. But
I absolutely love the music. I kind of already know what ones I would like to hear if that's possible.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. I'll edit those in. But I loved the music down there. What's your favorite? There's not an area I didn't like. Except maybe those fucking mines because I died in there so many fucking times.
Yeah, the mines are probably my least favorite, but I still like them. I would say favorite is still obviously the overworld, and I'd say Frindrana Drifts because at least, even though it's all ice, at least Samus doesn't slide around all the time. Like she keeps her feet pretty steady on that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm just thankful there's no ice physics in that shit, or else I probably would hate it.
And what I thought was really cool about the ice world too is there's 2 or 3 points where you go into your ball form, you're like ripping through like little crevices in the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's how you're getting around. I actually think just seeing her in her ball form in this game is one of the coolest things. Like when the camera goes right behind you and you're ripping through like a tight tunnel or something. I just like minor things. There's not like there's a lot of gameplay in there or anything, but that's one of those moments where every time I went in there, I was like, that looks so cool. Like every fucking time.
I think that's what also, got the idea for the Metroid pinball game for the DS. But like, it's always fun, ripping around as the morph ball. And everyone's always like, well, how can she roll around like that? Isn't she like all scrunched up and anything? It's like, well, she's probably just in the fetal position. Yeah. But if you think, especially if you have the speed booster, like she would stand up, she'd be sick or dizzy or some shit, but she's not. She just keeps going.
Well, she's Samus. She's goddamn professional.
Exactly.
I like all the areas. Minus that fucking map. Speaking of her abilities, like one of I think my primary draw to Metroidvania games is I love picking up every time I get a new ability. It's like it's like forget a new weapon. Like a new weapon is neat, and I guess it's kind of neat in this game because you get a new weapon and you're like, I can go back and open all those purple doors. I can go open all those white doors. I can open the red doors. Like I like that. But like when you get a hold of double jump, or you get a hold of the super bombs, or you get a hold of the grappling hook, or like that kind of stuff, I think that's my main appeal to these games. Every time I get a new ability, my first thought is like, I can't wait to go back to this thing that's been driving me crazy, and now I can finally get in there. You know what I mean? And yeah. And I think this game does a great job of that. Again, I guess another minor criticism goes back to that map. I wish you could put markers down on that fucking map. Oh, like something. Because like there were so many times near the end of the game when Omega Pirate was killing me, and I was like, okay, I got to go back, do a sweep, find some more missile upgrades, and find a few health kits. I know that I'd seen 2 or 3 energy tanks that I could get to now, but I couldn't remember where the fuck they were. And I wish I could have just put a little like a sticker on a map or something.
No, I
But,
agree.
you know,
You're looking at the
minor
map
thing.
and you're just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? And then you finally go back there and like, oh, that's right. This
Yeah,
thing.
because every room kind of looks the same in some ways.
Mhm.
So that was a minor thing, but no, I liked the abilities enough. I thought they were none of them felt unnecessary, minus like you and I just said, a couple of the powered up weapons felt I guess a little bit unnecessary, but they weren't that
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, one other thing. How badass does that Phazon suit look on Samus when you finally
Oh,
get that? The
dude, she
black and
looked,
red.
oh my god, like
Yeah.
so I've always said the way Samus looks, no spoilers, but the way Samus looks at the end of Metroid Dread, and anyone that's played it, you know what I'm talking about. She looks fucking awesome. But when you get that final suit after you kill Omega Pirate, I was like, she looks like Venom Samus now. She looks so fucking dope. And then when you go back into Morph Ball and she's just like a rock solid black ball of badassness, like Samus is just like, for a character with no fucking character, like that doesn't talk, that doesn't, she's so badass. Like I just love the way she looks. And I think that's honestly one of my favorite things about this game is this would have been the first time we really got to see her like in big fucking awesome 3D. And like every time you just stand on like a save point or you go into like a missile upgrade or anytime you get to see Samus, like a cutscene, and you get to see her not through the first person view through her visor, but like an out of body, just watching her walk around, those giant shoulder pads and everything. She's such an awesome looking fucking character, man.
And they start from the bottom, they go up and they just like, look at all this. And they just bring
Yeah.
you up right up to her. And then you go right into first person and you're just off to the races.
Loved it. Yeah. I thought it was fucking she's so fucking cool. I loved it. And you're right. Her suit looks fucking awesome at the end. One thing I found as I was going through it playing was, and again, everybody spoilers, I guess. I won't like spoil where they all are or anything, but it turns out like your main objective of the game is to collect all these artifacts that are laying around this place. And I didn't read the manual. Maybe it says it in the manual and I just didn't read it. So might be on me. But early on in the game, I found the base where all the artifacts belong. And then I found an artifact by mistake and I was like, oh, cool. I got an artifact. I don't know what that does, but I found an artifact. Seems like a big deal. I wasn't sure if the object of the game was to just go find a final enemy and kill them. Like when I got to Omega Pirate, I was a little bit like, is this the final boss of the game? Or do I have to go get these artifacts? And then I realized like you have to collect the artifacts to eventually beat the game. And I got to tell you, dude, like I think if you don't like backtracking, you might criticize this game because you have to backtrack to go get all the artifacts. But I really enjoyed the final end, that part of the end game. I found parts of the end game frustrating because they were just really difficult. But I loved the part of like, I have every ability in the game. And now I just need to look up this hint and it says, oh, in the Magmore Caverns, there's a tower by a river and it highlights a couple of words. And you read that and you're like, okay, somewhere in Magmore, there's an area called the river, whatever the fuck. And then I go there and then you have to solve this puzzle of what do you have to do to find this artifact. I thought that was maybe the most clever part of the game. I loved that whole part, collecting the artifacts. That was awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad when I was playing it because I recall before I thought it was just like, oh, you do this at the end game, you got to go all over the place and then collect everything. There's 12.
Yeah.
And then, but as I was playing it just this past time, like I was getting them as I was playing. And I think the only how many I had to go back for was like 4 before I was like all said and done with it. And there was one where it's like, go to this research lab in the Phazon mines. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, there's 2 research labs in the Phazon mines, but they want you to fight another one of those damn like Omega Elite pirates. But that one wasn't actually as bad as the actual
not even
Omega
close.
pirate.
No.
But speaking of the suit and speaking of like the fight with Metroid Prime, so you remember like right before after you defeat it and it takes the suit from you and you have to get out, you're just back in your like a gravity suit.
Yeah.
You didn't happen to see.
Wait, what part?
You remember after like right after you defeat Metroid Prime and she like takes that suit from you?
Oh, like at the very end of the game.
Yeah, like she
Yeah,
like
yeah.
before she dies, she like takes it from you and you're back in the gravity suit and then you
Right.
escape.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So apparently like I don't remember how much your percentage of the items you found. Like I found like a 72%. Well,
Yeah,
apparently if you
it was something like 71 or something.
apparently if you do like 75, you'll get like more of a close up on Samus after you defeat her and then after you leave.
Oh,
But
fuck.
apparently if you find 100%, you get an additional scene where you see like the little puddle on the ground and then out comes an arm with an eyeball on the hand
Oh,
to
really?
indicate, yeah.
Oh shit. So I wonder though, like to get 100%, I wonder if you need to like because like yeah, I just checked it. I finished with 71%, and I feel like I got a lot of stuff. It must include scanning everything. Like to
Well,
get
I
100%, it must include scanning everything.
well, I know when I looked up my scanning was above 90, but my item collection was at 72. So it might not, but
I don't know, maybe.
there was probably like a bunch more missile expansions we both missed, or like,
Maybe that's because I was only missing. I'm assuming you can get enough energy tanks to fill in the entire space above your life bar.
yeah, I
And
think I was missing one of those, but I
yeah, I
know I
was
was still
missing
missing a
two.
bunch of, yeah.
But yeah, maybe I was missing a bunch of. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was like I just got to the point where I was like, I have all the artifacts. I'm 15 hours into this game, and that 15 hours was like my play time. I guarantee I was over 20 because I died in the fucking mines so many goddamn times. I was like, I've this has been fun, but I'm ready to save the world and get out of here now.
And I'm
Um,
also pretty sure people are wanting us to mention Meta Ridley because obviously it's not regular Ridley, it's Meta
yeah,
Ridley.
I gotta say, yeah, yeah, as we kind of that like I love Ridley. I think Ridley's such a cool looking character. I'm just gonna put my cards on the table. I thought that boss fight sucked. I thought it was stupid.
It was a lot of waiting around because he'll fly up out and you're just like, okay, cool. Are you gonna get closer? And then he'll
Yeah,
just dive bomb you and shit like that. And then
fuck.
he'll I don't
Like,
know why. I couldn't avoid his lunge attack all that often. Like I would even sidestep because you could sidestep in
yeah,
this game,
yeah.
and he would still hit me every time, just about every time.
I'd go in like fits where I'd be able to dodge them like crazy. Like, especially like once 3/4 of his health is down and then he comes down to fight you. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
3/4 of the time I'd dodge him, no problem. And then all of a sudden he'd get me once. He'd probably get me a dozen times before I started dodging him again. But I
Mhm.
just found it, yeah, like there's a lot of just hurry up and wait. And I was like, when I saw him show up, I was so excited. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go, Ridley. And then I was like, that was kind of lame. Like I was a little disappointed. I love where the fight takes place and Ridley
Yeah.
looks cool and everything, but I thought the fight was a little bit meh. And then that Metroid Prime fight fucking almost killed me because it was just so long and it was fucking difficult. But I was happy with the ending for the most part though. Like the only again, like I guess my gripe with the end is uh once I had all the artifacts, then you fight Ridley, who killed me once, I think, and then I got by Ridley.
Mhm.
Then you go down to like that other area where you're gonna get ready to fight Metroid Prime, and you have to climb that fucking tower with those little Metroids following you around all the fucking time. And getting through there, I just kept fucking falling and missing my jumps. Then I get through there. Then there's this fucking 8-stage fight from hell against Metroid Prime. And both times when I killed the first form of it, when it was like the big spider thing, I was on my last health. And then I'd go down to the ground, and then it would quickly do like this attack, and it would open up like 4 or 5 health replenishment items. And I grab all those. But then again, by the time I beat it, I was down to next to nothing. And I just thought, like, it's not, again, I don't think it's a bad fight, but as someone that doesn't like boss fights to begin with, I just didn't enjoy the boss fights nearly as much as I enjoy them like in Metroid Dread, or as much as I enjoyed exploring in this one. I found the boss fights to be my least favorite part of this game. I
The
guess
only
is
thing
what
I
it
will
is.
say the saving grace about the boss fights is at least they have like a health bar to let you know exactly how much
Mhm.
is left. And obviously, if something's not working on them, you don't they'll flash red like they normally would.
Yeah,
So like if you
100%.
ain't hitting them, it'll just deflect right off. So
And
I'm at least glad that they at least let you know that it's
totally, yeah. And I
yeah.
don't think that the fights are bad. Like I just don't like boss fights. Like I'm
No,
a
I
pussy.
gotcha.
I don't like them. Period. But like they weren't game breaking or anything. I do think some of the designs are fucking cool. Like I think Omega Pirate looks cool. I think Meta Ridley looks cool. I thought Metroid Prime. I thought in the giant spider suit looked kind of like okay. But when you just fight it floating around in the underground, I thought it looked fucking awesome. Especially when you could turn off your 2 funky visors
Mhm.
and just look at it like straight up. I thought it looked fucking awesome. Um, it's It's a fucking great video game. I
Mm-hmm.
understand why it gets all the praise that it fucking gets. It's just a really well done video. I enjoy Metroidvanias so much, and I don't think I've ever played one that was like a first person 3D game like this before. And I didn't think I'd hate it, but I was skeptical I would like it as much as I did because I prefer my games in 2D. But it was just spectacular, just a fucking awesome video game.
And even if they would have stopped there at the first Metroid Prime as far as 3D goes, it would have just been a perfect way to do it too.
Sure. I was going to ask, like, I know some people don't seem to like Metroid Prime 3 Corruption as much. Do you like 2 Echoes?
I like 2, but not as much as 1. Like,
Okay.
I feel like as much as when we were talking about all like the different environments from the first one, where it's like, oh, you have a rainforest and you have a volcanic underground and a Arctic area. This one, that one is kind of like, all right, well, you have a light world and a dark world, and it's a lot of purples and browns. So it kind of just drabs a little bit. It's still a good game nonetheless, but it's just a slight step backwards.
Sure.
And as far as 3 goes, like, I played some of it, didn't finish it. I want to, but I'll get there someday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, honestly, I don't fucking motion controls. Like, I might play it at some point, but again,
I mean, they work for that game. I will say
Sure.
it's not like they're bad, but I understand.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah. Like, honestly, like, I'm looking at like the Metroid like timeline here right now, and I want to play
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 2 Echoes at some point. I want to play Samus Returns, the remake of the Game Boy one, and honestly, those are probably the 2 that are standing out to me now: Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and Metroid Other. I like this. I've really become a fan. I'm a big fan of this franchise now. Like, I haven't had a bad experience yet. The NES one is probably my least favorite, and it's just because it's so rudimentary and it's hard as fuck. But it's still not terrible. It's just, man, this franchise has gotten good. And I'll tell you, man, Metroid Prime 4, if it ever does release, has skyrocketed up my list of games I'm excited to play.
Absolutely.
Skyrocketed. I'm not sold we'll ever get it at this fucking point. So, man, I think are we good? I think we touched on almost everything.
Yeah.
Is there
I would
anything
say
we
so.
forgot?
Not that I could think of.
I think we're good. All right. Then you're the guest. Hoagie Man, how do you want to score this thing?
Well, as I was saying to you before the stream, I have an idea, but it also kind of coincides with a story that I told a friend of mine I would tell him because it involves him.
Sure.
But back when the game first came out, I would say like early 2002 and stuff like that. I had a friend of mine who was living with me, and we were playing this game, and there's that part where you have to like climb up the giant tree, and he would miss the jump, and I would be like, dude, you got to jump at that spot. And he's like, keep missing it. Probably about 4 or 5 times after like fucking around and being like, can't make the jump. I'm like, dude, if you would just jump. And before I could finish my sentence, the GameCube controller flew across the room, hit me in the head, probably right about the probably about the spot right between my ear and my temple. And he yells at me. He's like, well, then you fucking show me where it's at. And then I'm like, I can get really pissed off and I can just walk away from this now, or I can just show him up at this point. So I show him how to do it. And then afterwards I yelled at him back. I'm like, that's how you fucking do it. And then I threw it back at him. And I would say, after that, I walked up to the GameCube and I yanked the cord right out of the wall. So not only did he have to redo that part himself, he had to redo all the progress he missed.
And there's some spaces in this game where you go a long time without a save.
And I'd say that controller probably threw, and I'm just going to exaggerate, threw at my head about 85,000 miles an hour. So out of 85,000 is what we're going to go. We'll go with the right. So I personally love this game enough that I would say, if I were to score it out of 85,000, it'd be an 84,999. Not a whole lot I can complain about, but just some minor gripes.
Yeah, I'll give it 83.5 because it's just that fucking map. I'm taking a point off that fucking map.
No,
but like it's I do think I like Metroid Dread a little more, but it's almost 1A, 1B. Like, this is now my second favorite Metroid game for sure. Nice. And it's very close. This is Mario Odyssey to my Super Mario World. Like, it's very close.
Right.
Just that fucking map. And I can't wait to play the remake. I cannot fucking wait to play the remake on the Switch now.
It's absolutely great.
Yeah, I got to pick it up. Hoagie Man, if people want to find you on the old interwebs, where can they find you?
So I started my own Twitch now. So if you look up Savagery 482 _ the Hoagie Man, all of it lowercase. I don't have a schedule, so I just get on when I feel like it. But if you ever want to come by and just, want to watch me play games and shoot the shit.
You guys can find the link to Hoagie Man's Twitch in the description of this podcast. If you want to swing by and say hi, tell him I sent you. It won't get you anything, but it would make me feel cool. Hoagie Man, dude, listen, thank you so much for forcing me to play Metroid Prime because it was awesome. And thank you for your patience and your generosity for supporting my 24-hour stream and everything. Good man. And I really appreciate you, dude. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Like I said, it was an honor for me to do it. Like I said, it was a very good cause, and I'm always, happy to do it, and appreciate the time that you allowed me to come on and talk about one of my favorite games ever.
Fuck yeah, bro. It's a great fucking game. I fucking loved it. So thank you for doing this, man.
And one last thing, if we have Good A coming in with his 3-word review. So what did you think of the game, Good A?
I dug it.
Thanks, Good A.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Blaine the Hoagie Man. Dude, thank you so much for your support, your generosity, your patience, and your great pick for making me finally play Metroid Prime. I'm so glad I did. That game fucking slaps. Good job as well. And to every single one of you nerds listening to this right now, whether this was your first Remember the Game, maybe your 257th. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. If you want more of these, go through our archives. There are so many fucking episodes sitting around there. And don't forget to maybe check out our Patreon. It's dirt cheap. Starts at a couple of bucks a month. There are literally hundreds of bonus podcasts waiting for you over there, ad-free, with new episodes going live every week, up to 4 a week, depending on the week and your tier. But lots of fucking goodies over there. Plus the Discord access, the ability to write into the show, the shout-out, all that kind of stuff. I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else to plug. You can find Blaine the Hoagie Man's Twitch handle in the description of this podcast. If you want, swing by his streams, tell him I sent you. That'd be kind of neat. And if anyone's wondering what the Good A thing was there, I think it's a running joke between them in our Discord. But I'm also kind of wondering if Hoagie Man just sold off 3 seconds of his podcast to Good A. Which is funny that now we're trading and selling time on this podcast on the market. I think that's pretty dope. But I enjoyed that. So well done, you guys. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If I sound flustered, I'm away this weekend, and this is literally my 5th podcast in 24 hours because I'm trying to get a whole bunch done. And we still have to record next week's episode, which we're doing in a couple hours. That's gonna be a review of the Doom movie from 2005 with The Rock, and it's one of the worst movies. It might be the worst movie I've ever seen. So it should make for a good fucking podcast. And Mark McHugh and I are recording Purple Monkey Dishwasher in about 6 hours. And that'll be going live next week, too. That's our Simpsons podcast for all of our patrons, blah, 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 blah. I have a P.O. Box. You can find the address at rememberthegamepodcast.com. I have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/rememberthegame, but I won't be on there much this week, but you should still follow me and come by what I am anyways. And if you like the show, leave us a nice review. I would appreciate that. Good enough. I am going to say some thank yous to some patrons as I'm contractually obligated to do and then get the fuck out of here. Take it easy, everybody, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Cheers, so long, goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I turn out every week without all of your support. The following people are the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/remember the game, and as such, I'm contractually obligated to thank them as quickly as possible. So in alphabetical order, a huge thank you to a dude named Adam, A.B. Killen, Aaron Lawson, Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Mario Galaxy, Adam Blank's evil twin, Adam Martinet, On My Foot, AJ Mukherjee, sorry AJ, Alex R., Alex Ramos, Alexander Camps, Andre, Andrew Wright, Andy Hudson, Angry Ticks, Antonio Echeverria, A-Town, Atreyu Wormwood, Ballsack Teabagger, Beaver Boy, B.O. Problem, Beef Dingleberry, Benjamin Atkins, Big Daddy Randall, Big the Cat, Biddy, B-Cuz19, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Blobby Rogers, B Money, Bobby Litton, Brandon DeZeba, Brian Neese, Brian Richmond, Brian Weber, Bula, Bulma Simp, Burt Macklin, Buy Me Bone Storm, C-Spin, Cam Nelly 23, Can't Destroy Her, Captain N, Cesar, Chevy Boy 9211, Chris Dick and Chris Fleury, Chris Williams, Christian Gabriel, Christopher Britt, Chugger 22, Cody Richardson, Cody Thompson, Colin Bollinger, current Remember the Game Hall of Famer Mark McHugh, Dakota Guy, Dan Fusselman, Dan of DNA Gaming, Daniel, Darth Skywalter, Dave McGee, Dave Thompson, DBXJ, Decoy Man, Dem Boys on the Roof, Denzalo, Devilish Saint, Digital Dave, Dill Pickle Rick, Donnie the Dude Walter, Doogie, Doug Dorn, Dr. Nightmare 23, Drugs and Man, okay, Elephant Calves, Elijah Burns, E-Man Trucker, Eric James, Esteban Navarro, Evolva, Fallen Snow Kiku, Faded Sufferance, Flinny123 is Sarah Flynn, Franklin Badge, Fraser Burns, Frosty Bear, Frosty Feet 492, Fuzzy 99, General Fury, G9 PSX, Gabe, Glue Scappin, Graham Kennedy, Guy Who Does Things, Hagel Waffle, High Plains Drifter, Hired Goons, who? Hitchy Poo, Holmes, Itchy Nutsuru, Isaias, It's OG, It's the Bigfoot, Jake Carter, Jameer Williams, James Clark, James Francesco, Jean-Ray Pram, Jeff Bergeron, Jimothy, Jay Callahan, Joe Buck, Joe the Sandman, Joe LeBlanc, John M. Watkins, John Woodruff, Johnny from Virginia, Johnny Zubu 81, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Jordan, Joe Stone, Juris Dr. Mario, Just a Fish, Just Car Pranks, Kayach, Kevin Monroe, Kia Pup, Knife Goes in Guts Come Out, Chris Lovin, Laces Out Dan, Leroy Westrich, Liquor Like Luigi, Lord Longrod Von Hugendong II, Lucas Valadez, Makeshift Mellow Magic Money, Mark Sneed, Matt Hamilton, Matt Zeus, Maverick Marty, Max Lagroom, Max Sandin, Mellow Yellow 8787, Mercury 869, Mike Maloney, Mizuru, Morgan, Mr. Papa Giorgio, Musty Beetle, Nathan Tremblay, Neafi, Neil Cooper, Nerdy Hybrid, Nick Amos, Nick Creature, Nicole Aldena, No One Cares, Oh My God It Froze, Oroku Saki's Gardener, Phil Lencher, Philip Ramsey, Fill Up My Mouth with Farts, Plow King, Postman, Priston Dylan Tourette, Quiet Place Queen, Radioactive Man, Raging Irish, Randy Barrage, Ray San Wantonga, Robathon Dick Whittles, Robbie DLC, Robbie Air, Ruben Elizald, Ryan Kinchin, Ryan Perry, Ryan Whitcomb, Sabin, Sam Carpenter, Scary Terry, Scott Brooks, Sean Ramos, Shoeboxers, Shorzy, Sharotic, Scissorfist, Sleeper Hit, Slick Rick, Solomon Soto, Sour Goat Face, Squeak Nut, Squint, Steve Dalp, Storm Beagle, Stud Still Smash, Super Nintendo Chalmers, Super Dad Bros Podcast. I find the S ones very easy to say. Ted Explosion, That One Kid Josh, The Big Deal, The Keegs, The Fletchman, Thomas Childs, Thomas Smith, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Timothy Sabrinsky, Titan 420, Tom Houlihan, Trevor Leahy, Trevor McKee, Triple, Tunable Power, Tyler Bauer, Works For Me, West Jen, Wolfgang Darren, Wolf Magic 21, Why the Surgeon Who's Not a Surgeon Rose, Zach Shepard, Zamato, Zane Donovan, and Zonko 504. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Talk to you later. Cheers.